Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep video. Today I am making some snack boxes and some mini quiches, some roasted salmon and some mango salsa along with a few other things. So stick around and see what I got done this weekend to prep for the work week ahead. So the first thing that I'm going to get started on today is my mango salsa. I'm not sure why, but this just sounded really good, and I've also been craving salmon, and so I wanted to make a big batch of it to have with our fish for dinner on this particular evening, and then I would obviously have extra to keep in the refrigerator for meal prep and snacks throughout the work week. So this recipe is from another YouTuber. Her name is Tiffany Beeston. She has a channel here on YouTube called Beauty and the Beestons. If you haven't checked it out, she is a mom of 3 and I just love her channel. She used to work full-time as a nurse, but now stays home and does YouTube full-time. So definitely check out her channel if you haven't yet. But anyway, she posted this video a while ago for her mango salsa, and I had not made it before. And so I decided to try it out a few months back when she posted that and loved it. So I'm just using 3 mangoes that I got from the grocery store. I would have liked for these to be a little bit riper, but I had to work with what I was able to get at Aldi. So I'm just trimming the mango flesh off of the pit and trying to peel it as best I can and chop it into small pieces. You want to make sure that you get them into smaller pieces. That way it is easier to scoop up with tortilla chips or with your fork when you're eating it with your fish. The next thing that you'll add is half of a red onion. You could add more if you wanted to. I don't prefer raw onion. I mean, I like it in salsas and things like that, but I just don't like a lot of it. So I just used half of a red onion. And then I am using 2 limes for these 3 mangoes. I love this juicer that I got on Amazon. I'll link it down below if you're interested. It does both lemons and limes really well. And the next thing that I will chop up is some cilantro. I'm basically using almost a whole bunch here. I already went ahead and washed that. Make sure that you wash your cilantro really well because it does get quite dirty. You want to make sure that it's clean before you add it to your salsa. So I'm just going to mix that up. I had to add a few teaspoons of honey to mine because my mangoes weren't that ripe. I'm also adding a little bit of salt. You'll just want to taste it before you add the honey. If your mangoes are really ripe, you may not need it. So now that the salsa is done, I'm going to transfer it into a glass dish to store it in the refrigerator. I'll find these Pyrex glass dishes on Amazon and link them down below. They come in all different sizes in a set, and I use them all the time for meal prep. They are super convenient. So the next thing that I'm going to make is some sweet and spicy orange salmon. Now, the time that I'm filming this is actually on a Sunday, and so we're basically going to have this for dinner, but I'm making extra so that I will have some for meal prep during the week. That's one of my tips, is that I always like to cook extra on the weekend so that I can make dishes that my husband and I can take to work during the week. So I will leave a link to this recipe in the description box below. But you will need the juice and zest of 1 large orange, along with some fish sauce, some soy sauce, a little bit of honey, and some sriracha. So on this particular night, I was actually making 2 large salmon fillets, but I only wanted to make 1 with this particular marinade because I didn't know how spicy it was going to be. My kids really love salmon, but they aren't really into super spicy food. So I just wanted to make sure that they obviously ate what I was cooking for dinner. Now, this didn't turn out being that spicy. Obviously, you could add more sriracha if you wanted to. I'm going to reserve about 1/4 cup of that marinade to baste over the fish while it's in the oven. Otherwise, I'm going to place 1 fillet in there and let that marinate for about 30 minutes. So for the lemon dill salmon, I don't really have a recipe for this. This is just normally how I cook salmon in the oven if I'm making it for myself and my kids, especially if I don't want to make something spicy. So I am just placing a salmon fillet on my foil lined cookie sheet. I'm going to season it with salt and pepper And then I like to season it with a little bit of lemon juice as well. So I'm using half the lemon there. And then the other half, I'm just going to cut some slices out of the lemon and I will lay that on top of the fish as it bakes. The other thing I like to add is a little bit of dried dill and some butter. So I'm just slicing the butter and putting it on top of the salmon. If you don't want to use butter, you could also use olive oil. I've used that before and it's worked out fine. And then I will just lay the lemon pieces on top of there. And once my other piece of fish is done marinating, I will place that on the baking tray and get it into the oven. So I have my oven set at 400 degrees. I'm going to put this in for 15 minutes and then I will remove it and baste the spicy orange salmon with the remainder of that glaze that I saved and pop it back into the oven and cook it for 5 to 10 more minutes or until the salmon is cooked to your liking. So here is the finished product. It looks a little burnt on the bottom, but I'm going to take the skin off anyway, so it's not a big deal. So the next thing that I'm going to cook is some mahi burgers. I cook these up for Adam because he is not a huge fan of salmon, but he does like other kinds of fish and seafood. I got these from Trader Joe's a few months back and found them in my deep freeze. I'm definitely trying to clean my freezer out in the new year. But I have to say, I cooked these to the package directions and they did not turn out very good. I feel like the flavor was good, but the texture was really tough and they were just dry, even with the mango salsa. So I definitely not purchase these again. He actually ate one and we ended up throwing the rest out. So let me know if you've tried those before. So with the leftover salmon, I went ahead and prepped up these meal containers with the salmon, some green beans, and some rice, and then a little side of the mango salsa. So I will take those to work this week for a great couple lunches. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to prep is some Greek orzo salad, and this is a recipe that I found online that actually goes in mason jars, so I will link it down below. But basically, while you are making your dressing for the salads, you can go ahead and cook up about a cup of dried orzo to the package directions, and I did put some salt in the boiling water. So for the dressing for these jars, you will need some red wine vinegar, some lemon juice, some honey, and also 2 cloves of garlic, or I actually used the minced garlic that I get in a tube. I get that in the produce section at Walmart. I've also found it at Aldi. It's really good. It's a really good substitute for fresh garlic if you don't want to mince it yourself. I'm also going to add some fresh dill and some dried dill and some dried oregano to the mix, along with some salt and pepper, and then whisk that up. And then the last ingredient will be to add some olive oil. If I would have known this dressing would have been so good, I would have made a double batch of it to use on regular salads because it was seriously delicious, and I will definitely be making this again. Okay, so when the orzo is done, I'm going to pour it into a colander in the sink and just rinse it really well with cold water. You want to do this to make sure that you stop the cooking, and this will also keep it from sticking together when you put it into your jars. So this salad is like a layered salad in a jar is how the recipe shows it, but you could also prep it in regular salad containers. Or basically, I mean, you could put it in a regular salad container and like keep the dressing separate, whichever you like. The jars kind of make it easy because, as you'll see later on, you put the dressing and like the heartier ingredients in the bottom, and that way the rest of it doesn't get soggy. So for the salad, you'll need some red pepper. The original recipe called for roasted red pepper. I didn't have any, and I just had a regular red pepper, so I used that. It worked out fine. The recipe also called for red onion, but I did not have any. I used green onion instead. Again, it worked out fine. I also chopped up some seedless cucumbers and some fresh parsley. The recipe also called for cherry tomatoes, but I had some Roma tomatoes that I needed to use up before they went bad, and so I went ahead and chopped those up and basically tried to squeeze all the seeds out that I could so that the salad wouldn't get watery, and I just chopped those up into small pieces and used those, and it definitely worked out fine. So you'll also need some chickpeas. I just have one can that I've drained and rinsed in a bowl. And then I'm also going to chop up some feta cheese. So I have a couple different size jars here. I used a mix of regular mason jars and leftover like fruit and spaghetti sauce jars. I always save all my jars because I'm crazy like that. But anyway, you will add a little bit of dressing into the bottom of the jar and then basically just layer all the ingredients in the jar from like hardest to softest. So in the bottom, I'm putting the chickpeas and the red pepper and the cucumber, and then I will layer in some olives. I think I put tomato down in there also. And then on the top, you want to put your orzo and your parsley. I made one jar just totally vegan because I have a friend right now who is doing vegan for the month of January, and I wanted to share one of these with her. So in that one, I did not put any feta cheese, but in the other ones I did. So again, just keep layering it until all of your ingredients are used up. I actually got, I think, 3 large jars, and then I had one for lunch on this particular day. So it does make about 4 good sized salads, but this is definitely awesome for meal prep. It will keep in your fridge for 5 to 6 days for your work week. So the next thing that I'm preparing is just some snack boxes. I have these plastic sort of Lunchable containers that I got on Amazon. They are really neat. I will link them down below. They're pretty inexpensive if I remember correctly, but I love using these to make homemade Lunchables for my kids. That way, if they say they're hungry, I can say, go grab one of these out of the fridge for a healthy snack rather than grabbing like chips or, cookies or something like that. And then they also work really well for school lunches for them as well. So in the first one, I am putting some pickles and olives, some cheese and some beef sticks and some crackers. That one will be for Connor because he really likes pickles and olives. In this one, I'm putting some dried strawberries, some whole wheat Ritz crackers, and some cheese and also some beef sticks as well. This one can be for Kira because she really likes those dried strawberries and she does not love pickles and olives. For the next 2, I am going to add some sliced cucumber. I got these mini English cucumbers at Aldi. They're really good and the kids really like them as a snack. And so I'm adding that to one section. I will also add some turkey pepperoni, some cheddar cheese, and some Ritz crackers. Okay, so here are my completed snack boxes. These will go in the fridge for the kids and us to grab during the work week. One of my goals this year is to have healthier snacks on hand for us to grab on the run, so I think this definitely fits the bill. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to meal prep on this particular day is some meatloaf. I found a couple pounds of ground beef in our freezer that I wanted to get used up before we got our next round of beef, and so I thought this would be the perfect way to use it up. And I haven't made meatloaf in a while. Not everyone in my family super loves it, but you know what, I do. And so sometimes you just have to make what you like and the rest of the people have to deal with it. So I don't have a recipe for this, so I'm just going to basically show you what I'm putting in my mixer. I like to make meatloaf in my stand mixer. It is just so easy. So I'm putting some ground beef, salt, pepper, onion powder, Worcestershire sauce, some breadcrumbs, a little bit of half and half to moisten it, and 1 egg. And if I didn't say this, I used 2 pounds of ground beef. So I'm just going to mix that up until everything is combined. I know some people add like chopped onion and stuff to theirs, but I don't like chunky things in my meatloaf, so I prefer just to use the onion powder. This is a great recipe to make ahead of time. You could definitely freeze this once you made it. I popped it in the refrigerator to make a couple days in advance, but it's definitely a great meal to meal prep during the weekend if you're going to make it in the next 2 or 3 days. So I like to form my meatloaf on a sheet pan lined with aluminum foil. This just allows the grease to drip off from the meat rather than putting it in a loaf pan. It just comes out a lot better better, I think. So I form it into 2 loaves on that sheet pan. I'm drizzling over a little bit of our homemade barbecue sauce. If you guys haven't seen that meal prep video, I will link it in the description box below where Adam and I made that barbecue sauce. And then I am going to just put some raw bacon over the top and cover it with foil. And then when dinner is ready to be cooked, I'll pop that in the oven. I would say 400 degrees for about 40 minutes, but definitely check the middle and make sure it is done. So since I had some bacon left, I'm just going to go ahead and cook that in the oven. We will definitely use this during the week. Adam usually makes a breakfast sandwich every morning on an English muffin, and sometimes he uses ham, but if there's bacon in the fridge, he can definitely use that as well. We can also use it chopped up on salads or on sandwiches, so there are a ton of uses for that. It will definitely all get eaten. So for my bacon, sometimes I like to bake it. I just put it on a rack on a sheet tray lined with foil, and I put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. You can just check it and see how done it is and see if you'd like it a little bit crispier, but this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. Once it's cool, I will just put it into a Ziploc bag and store that for later use. Okay, so this next part isn't really meal prep per se, but I like to show you guys everything that I do on the weekends. And so I thought I would include this. I had some leftover turkey from when we had Christmas at our house. It wasn't from Christmas. It was actually like a week after Christmas. So don't worry, it wasn't like super old, but this was the rest of the turkey that I had in a Ziploc bag in the refrigerator that was left over from our gathering. And so when I have something like this in my refrigerator, I want to make sure that I either use it up or get it in the freezer so that I don't waste it. This stuff is definitely a great addition to any kind of soup that you're going to make. I think how I'm going to use this up when I'm ready to is make some turkey and noodles out of it. So I use like the thick frozen Reams noodles. I have some turkey stock in the freezer that I can use, boil those up, and then just add this turkey and serve a veggie on the side. It's just a super quick dinner that everyone loves. So I went ahead and shredded all that turkey up and chopped it up, and I'm going to seal it in my new vacuum sealer. I just got this and it's available on Amazon. I'm really liking it. It's really fun to use, and I think if you're going to freeze things, it's definitely a good investment for your kitchen. It sucks all the air out of the bag, and so your meat or whatever you're freezing doesn't get those ice crystals and freezer burn around it. I'm just really excited to use it for different things and see how it works. So I went ahead and labeled the bag. I'm going to push down really hard and make sure that is locked before I put the vacuum seal on, and then just suck the air out, and that will go in the freezer. So I'll link this particular vacuum sealer down below if you guys are interested, but I have been enjoying it so far. So the next thing that I'm going to prep is some coleslaw for one of our dinners during the week. I have a pork loin in the freezer and I need to get that used up. And so I thought it would be good to make barbecue pork along with some coleslaw. I use the Copycat KFC coleslaw recipe. I will link it down below. It is one that I've been using for years and I really, really like it. So basically what I'm going to do is just prep the dressing and keep it separate in a jar until the night before we are going to eat it, before I mix it with the cabbage. If you mix it like more than one day before, it will definitely get soggy and you don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to put all of the dressing ingredients in a bowl and whisk that up. There's minced onion in there. There is milk, buttermilk, vinegar, sugar, salt, pepper, mayo, and some lemon juice. Normally I don't measure a lot when I cook, but when I make this recipe, for some reason, I always like to make sure that I measure, because I have not measured before and put like way too much vinegar or way too much lemon juice. So definitely this is a recipe that you want to measure for. So I'm just going to whisk together the dressing ingredients until they are well combined. I have a jar in my pantry that I'm going to pour that into, and then this will just go in the fridge until I am ready to mix it with the coleslaw. I had an extra half an onion left over, so I'm just throwing that in with my pork tenderloin, and that will go in the slow cooker along with the barbecue sauce to make my barbecue. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to work on is some quiche bites. I will link the original recipe down below. I only made half the recipe because I only had one box of these mini phyllo shells, but this was really good and I will definitely consider making it again. So I had these mini shells in my freezer from leftover from a recipe that I only used one box for, and they had been sitting in there for a while, and I was like, listen, it is definitely time to use these up. And I love quiche, and so what better to make these for meal prep to take to work to warm up during the work week. So I'm just putting the phyllo shells on my baking tray lined with parchment paper. I'm putting a little bit of bacon bits in the bottom of each shell and a little bit of shredded cheese. And then before this, you saw me just whisk together a little bit of flour, some eggs, some half and half, and some salt and pepper. You want to carefully pour this egg mixture. Do as I say, not as I do. You can see that I'm making a huge mess here, but it's the first time that I've ever done this, and these shells are super tiny, so it's not really a big deal. The egg will just, bake onto the tray. You can peel it off. It's not a huge issue. So just pour the egg mixture into those shells, and then you want to carefully pop these into the oven and bake them until the egg is set. I believe the recipe said to bake them at 350 for 15 minutes. They turned out perfectly. So here is what they looked like when they were out of the oven. I had a couple of these after they got done cooking. They were really good. I'm not sure how they will reheat, but we will see. So I will take those to work during the upcoming week. Okay, so one of the last things that I'm going to work on is getting my produce washed up for the week. This is definitely something that I do on the weekends to make sure that we are actually eating the fruits and vegetables that I buy. I am not a huge proponent of buying pre-washed vegetables and fruit just because I feel like it's something I can easily do myself at home. So on this particular week, I found some green grapes at Aldi that looked pretty good. Normally I buy the red grapes, but these looked better. And my kids like those just as well. So I'm just putting those into my salad spinner. If you don't have one of these, it's the OXO salad spinner, and I'll link it down below. I use it to spin my greens dry along with wash all my produce. So how I like to wash my produce is just soak them in cold water with a little bit of vinegar for about 10 minutes and rinse them off really well. When you drain them off, you can just transfer them into a Ziploc bag or a glass dish, and they will be good to go in the refrigerator for your upcoming week. For berries, the same thing. I just pour those into the strainer, add a little bit of vinegar, and soak them in cold water and rinse them off. I like to use these Rubbermaid produce keepers to keep berries fresh because they have a tray in the bottom that keeps the fruit off of the bottom of the container to keep it from getting soggy. I'll link those on Amazon below. Same with the strawberries. I just soak those in vinegar and water and rinse them off. And then I just like to trim the tops off and slice them up and put them in a container. On this particular day, I actually sliced all these up, and the kids literally snacked on them right after I cut them all up and ate the whole container, which, I'm definitely not complaining about because they're eating fruit, but it's just funny how kids go through things like this. And it just makes you think about, or it makes me always think about how if I had a really tight food budget, how hard it would be to buy fresh fruits and vegetables for my kids. So I'm definitely thankful that I don't have to deal with that, and that, I can let them eat as much fruit and veggies as they want. The next thing that I'm going to get started on is my lettuce. You guys have seen me do this before if you've been following my channel for a while. I have some green leaf lettuce here that I'm going to chop up along with some romaine lettuce. I'm just going to chop up one of the romaine lettuce heads because I'm not sure how much of that we're going to use this week. And I find if I keep it intact in the refrigerator, it lasts a lot longer. So I'm putting this into a salad spinner, again, the OXO one, and just squeezing some lemon juice over the top. For greens and lettuce, I like to soak them in lemon juice as opposed to vinegar, just because I think it has a better flavor, and it obviously does the same thing. It's very acidic. So I just soak my greens in the cold lemon water for 10 to 15 minutes, drain them, and then spin them dry. So you can see how much water was left there in the bottom. Definitely important to spin your greens dry. Sometimes I use the Rubbermaid containers for the lettuce as well, but I didn't have a ton of room in my fridge today, so I'm just using a Ziploc bag with a little paper towel to soak up the moisture. So the last thing that I'm going to prep is some veggie and hummus packs. I love prepping these on the weekend to take to work. It makes a great snack at the end of the day. Sometimes I eat this like in the car when I'm driving home because I haven't had lunch in 4 to 5 hours, and it's going to be a while till dinner. So it just definitely holds me over until dinner time and stops me from, stopping somewhere to get something unhealthy. So I'm using this hummus from Aldi. It is an 8-ounce container. I have these dressing containers that I get from Amazon, and I can fit 2 ounces in each. And so I just bag those up with the carrots. So here's a look at everything I prepped on this particular weekend. I have my romaine and green leaf lettuce there washed up, my grapes that my kids can eat for breakfast or take for snack during the week. I have my carrot and hummus packs that either myself or my husband can take to work during the week for snacks or lunch. I have my washed up blueberries. I obviously had my strawberries, but my kids ate those all very quickly. I have 2 of the snack boxes. By the time I filmed this, they actually ate 2 of them. So there you go. I have my prepped salmon with green beans and rice and mango salsa ready to go. My little quiche bites made in the phyllo cups for breakfast. I also have my coleslaw dressing that is ready to mix with the coleslaw mix when it is time. I have the remainder of my mango salsa to eat with chips, my shredded turkey that I put in the freezer, and I also have my glass jars of the Greek orzo salad meal prep ready to go. So that is everything I prepped this weekend. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Wait, hold on. Here is my meatloaf. You guys can see it cooking in the oven. I took a shot of that. So we also had that for leftovers too. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Bye.